What happens when you die? Death is the one certainty we spend our lives avoiding, denying, or ignoring. Every culture, every religion, every philosophy has grappled with it. What happens when consciousness ends? Does it end? Is death a door, a wall, or something we cannot even imagine? Science has largely treated death as simple. The brain stops, the lights go out, and that is that. But the deeper we explore consciousness and quantum mechanics, the less certain this picture becomes. If consciousness is fundamental, can it truly be destroyed? If the self is already an illusion, what exactly dies? If all moments exist eternally in the block universe, are you ever really gone? Welcome back to the Conscious Observer. Today we face the question that waits for us all. What happens when you die? Let us start with the standard scientific account. Consciousness is produced by the brain. When the brain dies, consciousness ceases. There is no soul, no spirit, no continuation. Death is simply the end of experience, like dreamless sleep that never ends. You do not experience nothingness, you simply stop experiencing. This view is parsimonious and consistent with what we know about brain damage affecting consciousness. Damage to specific brain regions destroys specific mental functions. Total brain death should destroy all mental functions. The materialist view offers no comfort, but it has the virtue of simplicity. Before your birth, there was nothing of you. After your death, there will be nothing again. You emerged from the void and will return to it. The universe existed for billions of years without you, and will continue without you. Death is not an event in life. It is the absence of life. But here is a puzzle. You can imagine the world continuing without you. You can imagine your funeral, your loved ones grieving, the sun rising on a day you will never see. What you cannot imagine is the absence of experience itself. Every time you try, you are still there, imagining. The cessation of subjectivity is literally inconceivable from the inside. Some philosophers have argued this is just a limit of imagination, not evidence of anything. Others have suggested it points to something deeper, that consciousness cannot conceive of its own non-existence because non-existence is not something that can happen to consciousness. This is not a proof of survival, but it reveals a strangeness at the heart of the question. Death is unlike anything else we contemplate because it is the end of the contemplator. Millions of people have reported near-death experiences, vivid, transformative encounters that occur when the brain is severely compromised. Common features include a sense of leaving the body, traveling through a tunnel, encountering a brilliant light, meeting deceased loved ones, experiencing a life review, and feeling overwhelming peace and love. Many who return lose their fear of death entirely. Materialists explain these as hallucinations produced by a dying brain, oxygen deprivation, or surges of neurochemicals. The tunnel is retinal dysfunction, the light is cortical excitation, the peace is endorphin release. But some cases are harder to explain. Patients report accurately perceiving events during cardiac arrest when their brain showed no measurable activity. A few report encountering information they could not have known. The evidence is contested, but near-death experiences at minimum reveal that the dying process can generate profound states of consciousness. Could quantum mechanics offer any hope for survival? We have seen that the observer plays a strange role in quantum physics. Some interpretations suggest consciousness is fundamental, not produced by matter but the ground from which matter arises. If this is true, then the death of the brain might not be the death of consciousness, only the death of one particular receiver or localization. The universal consciousness continues, only the individual filter is removed. Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff's orchestrated objective reduction theory suggests consciousness involves quantum processes and microtubules. Hameroff has speculated that these quantum states might not be destroyed at death but dispersed into the universe, potentially persisting in some form. This is highly speculative, not mainstream physics. But it shows that even within science, the question of consciousness and death is not fully settled. Recall our episode on time. In the block universe, past, present, and future all exist equally. Every moment that ever was or will be is eternally present in the four-dimensional block of space-time. If this is true, you do not really die. The moments of your life are always there, frozen in the block. The you reading this exists forever at this point in space-time. What changes is only which moment you experience as now, and this change might itself be an illusion. From outside the block, there is no flow, no loss, no death. There is only the complete, unchanging structure of all that ever happens. You are eternal, not by continuing after death, but by existing timelessly at every point of your life. Death is not disappearance. It is simply the edge of your world line, the boundary beyond which your pattern does not extend. In the many worlds interpretation, every quantum possibility is realized. We discussed quantum immortality earlier. The idea that from your perspective, you always survive quantum events, because you can only experience branches where you are alive. Some have extended this to suggest that you will always find yourself surviving, aging indefinitely, in increasingly improbable branches where accidents do not kill you and diseases do not take hold. This is probably wrong. Most deaths result from macroscopic causes that are not purely quantum random events. Still, many worlds implies that copies of you exist in branches where your death was averted. Somewhere in the multiverse, every version of you that could still be alive is still alive. This is not personal immortality in any comforting sense. You will not experience those branches, but it means your pattern continues somewhere, in worlds you will never know. Perhaps the question of survival depends on what we think we are. If you are a specific collection of atoms, you cease when they disperse. If you are a pattern, the question becomes, can patterns continue in other forms? Information is never truly destroyed according to quantum mechanics. The information that made up your mind is scattered but not annihilated. Could it be reconstituted? Some futurists speculate about reconstructing minds from their traces, resurrection through simulation. More mystically, some suggest that the pattern of your consciousness continues in the universal information structure, not as an individual self but as a contribution to the whole. You do not survive, but neither do you fully disappear. You become part of everything, as you always were, only without the illusion of separation. Death is not ending, it is rejoining. Whatever happens after death, we must live with mortality now. Awareness of death shapes how we live. Terror management theory in psychology shows that reminders of death trigger defensive reactions, reinforcing cultural worldviews and self-esteem to buffer anxiety. But those who confront death directly often report transformation. Hospice workers, near-death experiencers, and long-time meditators frequently describe losing their fear and gaining appreciation for the present. If death is certain and its aftermath unknown, then this moment is what we have. The questions we are exploring throughout this series about consciousness, reality, and the nature of existence, these are not academic. They are invitations to wake up to the preciousness and strangeness of being alive. Whatever you are here now, aware, wondering. This is the miracle that death will end or transform. We have asked the hardest question, what happens when you die? And we have found no certain answer. The materialist says nothing happens, experience simply ends. The block universe says every moment exists eternally. Many worlds says copies of you continue in other branches. Quantum theories of consciousness hint at possibilities beyond brain death. Near-death experiences suggest something profound happens at the threshold. Perhaps all these perspectives capture part of the truth. Perhaps death is different from what any living mind can conceive. What we can say is this. You are a pattern of consciousness that emerged from the universe, ask questions about the universe, and will in some form return to the universe. This is not tragedy. It is participation in something larger than any individual life. Throughout this series, we have explored the deepest mysteries, observation shaping reality, consciousness as fundamental, time as illusion, self as construction. Death is where all these questions converge. Whatever you are the conscious observer, and your observation matters, even if you do not know how it ends. Thank you for journeying with me this far. Keep observing while there is still time.